Welcome to the show, guys. We are talking the top 5 early fantasy football running backs for fantasy football 2022. These are the early rankings at the running back position, having some fun here. And I've made this one very special and very interactive today. What I've done is I've taken to Instagram at Fantasy Football Counselor. If you guys are not following, make sure you guys go there. The #1 verified IG page for fantasy sports. At Fantasy Football Counselor, I took to story mode and I asked you guys to vote on the 5th running back in these rankings. So I've got my top four, and I've asked you guys to basically vote in on the 5th. So who is the 5th running back on the top 5? That's voted up to you. I thought I'd have some fun here because this is very early, right? This is all hypothetical. Now, where the rankings really start happening, where my 16 rounds draft solution starts falling into play, and where I really start laying it out on where to draft players is after the NFL draft, because there's Breece Hall out there. There's other running backs coming into the NFL. Predicated on where they land, might put them in the top 5. That's where I had Najee Harris last year, right? He landed on the Steelers. I'm like, hell yeah, he's top 5, and the mainstream all had him outside the top 10. So this episode is going to be fun. Again, I made it interactive, so we're going to dive into my IG, into my story mode, and see what you guys voted for the 5th running back here, and I'll go over my top 4 here. So again, guys, I'm really hypothetical to some degree here. There is obviously some research here. I've done the research. These are the 5 that I feel could still be the 5. We're going to have to see who the rookies are and where they land, right? That it's all based on landing position. So very fun episode here. Top 5 running backs, early discussion. Before we get into this, guys, if you have not got it yet, I've got a discount for you, a discount code. Get the 16-round draft solution. Use the code TUBE20. That's TUBE 20. Even if you're listening in the car, this will work in the car. TUBE20, guys, and get 20% off 16-round draft solution. This is the lowest price of the season if you use that code. TUBE20. 16-round draft solution at thefantasyfootballaccounts.com. I've also linked it here below. Save yourself 20% and get in to dominate your leagues. The first ever and only video training, optimal players to draft in each round. Sleepers, breakouts, dynasty, discuss it all. Which rookies to draft. Printable cheat sheet, updated notes up until the season starts. Everything you need to crush your leagues. Draft kits are dead. Get the solution. Linked it below. Use code TUBE20. Go do it now. All right, first running back here. And if you are new to the channel, subscribe. Thumbs up, guys. Oh, yeah, in the comments, I want to see if you guys are right on Instagram. You YouTubers, if you're listening on YouTube or the podcast, jump over to my YouTube. Let me know. Weigh in. Who should be the 5th running back off the board, right? In regards to rankings. Again, Instagram voted. Love to hear if they were right. So I want to know if this is right. I want to know who the 5th one is. Vote in, okay? But I'll start off with the first one here. Again, stay till the end because, again, we're going to give you guys the fan voted number 5, and you guys can weigh in if that was right or wrong, okay? Let's make it interactive. So Derrick Henry's my first one off the board. Now you guys are saying, well, Joe, you're nuts here. Jonathan Taylor should be number 1. Yes, but understand, guys, let's go back to 2002, 2003. Priest Holmes was the only running back to go back-to-back number 1 running back based on fantasy points. Jonathan Taylor will decline. I love Jonathan Taylor. I loved him in his rookie year. I was ahead of the Chiefs on this, and I knew Taylor was going to be a stud. I loved him last year. The only reason I was skeptical and pessimistic about Taylor is because I thought they might be in a little bit of a committee with Hines, and I think it'd be a little bit annoying. But sure enough, they knew what I was thinking all along. He should be the workhorse running back. And this is how I feel about every running back that I think is good. They shouldn't be in a committee. They shouldn't be honed in. They should be working as a workhorse running back because you want the best. A team wants the best possible running back out there. So again, let's put Taylor aside for a second. Derrick Henry is the first one right now. Why do I like him? Listen, I still think Derrick Henry, he's got 1 to 2 good years out of him. Solid. Last year, only played 8 games, still finished 22nd amongst running backs. Guys, I can't express to you how huge this is. Listen, number 10, okay, in attempts, 219. Derrick Henry played 8 games, and he finished 10th in attempts with 219. Check this out, guys. Touchdowns. Derrick Henry finished 6th amongst running backs in touchdowns with 10, and he played 8 games. Okay, I can't express to you how important this is, guys. Rushing yards. Derrick Henry finished 9th in rushing yards with 937, and he played 8 games. Okay, so top 10 in all of those categories, finishing 22nd in fantasy points. Now that isn't very good, but he played 8 games, like pretty much half of what other running backs played. It finished top 10 in many categories, again, including what I just stated for you, including attempts and touchdowns, okay? And rushing yards, which is phenomenal. So Derrick Henry, I still think has the highest ceiling amongst running backs. Obviously, the receptions aren't going to be there, but even if we're talking PPR, that's what I always talk, is 1 point PPR. I still like Derrick Henry, guys. I still love Derrick Henry as a guy that could be the number one running back in fantasy points by the end of the season because the ceiling and the volume is so high. Now you're saying, well, Joe, I think the Titans may limit his production. We're going to have to see who else they draft. Maybe another running back comes in and they lighten the load because we saw the injury, right? He was getting work too much. That's very possible that another running back does come in, but I still think they're going to run Henry. I think that these guys are making a run. They've got Tannehill. Tannehill's got, one, maybe 2 good years left. They're going to try to push as hard as they can, and they want to increase their chances of making it to the playoffs and going as far as they can. Again, I don't think the team is there with Tannehill, but they're going to make a run, and they know they've got a limited shelf life of Derrick Henry. They're going to run him to the ground, okay? So easily, even if they do limit Henry, I'm looking at it, I'm thinking at least a floor of 275 rushing attempts. That's a floor. I still think it's going to be well over 300. Predicated he's healthy. So Derrick Henry's my number one running back off the board. Clear-cut, bounce-back season, massive upside, Derrick Henry. Coming in at number 2, guys. Number 2 here. And again, this is not the Concheapsis rankings. The Concheapsis rankings are going to be totally different. And I'm going to go over that in a second. But Najee Harris is number 2. Now, I have some question marks about Najee Harris. I liked him at the value last year. Everyone had him outside the top 10. I was jumping all over him in the second round. I was getting him. And I knew I was going to have to reach sometimes in the first round because people were catching on. But now people know Najee Harris is good. People know the counselor was right. People know that the mainstream are full of shit. They know that they had Najee Harris in the top, outside the top 10. Now he's in the top 10, currently sitting. I think he's like 6th or 7th on the PPR rankings for them right now. Volume, talent, youth, opportunity, it's all there. Okay. The only problem I'm having is a Mitch Trubisky problem. Is, Trubisky going to check down and pitch it out to Najee Harris? Is he going to throw it, short passes to Najee? Maybe Najee becomes a huge outlet for Trubisky, right? I don't trust Trubisky. Now, Trubisky in a different offense, new coaching with Tomlin, better receivers, better offense all around. I like it. Now, Najee Harris has to contend not only with a new quarterback in play, but he's also got to contend with a bad O-line, which I'm hoping and I think and I believe they will improve in the NFL draft, which will help Najee Harris. I've got him at number 2 based on youth, talent, and volume. He's not coming off the field. If he does, it's probably for 5% of, the overall snaps. He's in there for 95 snaps, percent of the snaps. Najee Harris is going to eat. Najee Harris is elite talent. Najee Harris will get the volume. He's going to be young. He is young. He's going to be performing on a high level, getting all the goal line work. Obviously, last year, didn't do too well in the touchdowns. Only 7 touchdowns. That's really unacceptable for me. I like to see more touchdowns, okay? He had 3 receiving touchdowns and 7 rushing touchdowns, 3.9 yards per carry. That's going to go up. He still managed 307 attempts and 1,200 rushing yards. Pretty phenomenal for Najee Harris, a guy I predicted to be in the top. Finished on the top 3 in PPR last year in points with just 300.7. 300 plus fantasy points. That's going to go up. Again, Mitch Trubisky's a problem. The O-line's a problem. I'm hoping Mitch does well and they improve that O-line. Najee Harris, I got him at number 2. Well, you're saying, okay, who's at number 3, Joe? How could you put Najee Harris above Jonathan Taylor? Going back to that debate, when I said I'd get back to Jonathan Taylor had a phenomenal year. And Jonathan Taylor, I love. And Jonathan Taylor could finish number 1 amongst running backs and smash Najee and smash Derrick Henry. And not really smash if they're both healthy, but he could come up still on top. Last year, 373 fantasy points. Here's the thing. 332 attempts. I think that's still viable. Okay, O-line's good. They brought in Matt Ryan. Okay, receptions, 40 receptions. I think that could stay the same or go up. I still like that. But the yardage, 1,811 yards and 18 touchdowns, very hard to duplicate, but very possible. And again, if there's anybody, and I repeat, anybody that's going to duplicate the Priest Holmes, 2002-2003, repeat of most fantasy points back-to-back years, right? He did it 2 years in a row, and it's very rare running back 2 years in a row has 2 pinnacle years. If anyone's going to do it, I think Jonathan Taylor's going to do it. He's got youth. He's got opportunity. He's got O-line. He's got talent. He's got everything going for him. Volume. Jonathan Taylor, I still like here. I still could consider first overall. This is where, the mainstream had Cook one year, when he did well, they had him number 1 again the year after, number 2, whatever, right? Cook was the guy I saw falling off, right? For many reasons, including he hasn't finished a year. Taylor's a guy I still think holds solid, barring any type of injury. If he doesn't get hurt, Taylor still stays on top. I love Taylor. Taylor could be number one. All I'm saying is that I like Henry and Najee a little bit better. I just think, they still think they have more ceiling, if that makes sense. And I still think Taylor still has ceiling, but he had such a pinnacle year. It's hard to duplicate again. It's very rare that it happens, that they go back-to-back number one. And for those reasons, I kind of have him down 1 or 2 spots. I'm not saying Taylor's a bust. This is not what I'm saying. All I'm saying is that he might not finish first overall again based on what history has showed us at the running back position, period, okay? Coming at number 4, at the time of this recording, again, it's very early. Melvin Gordon's still a free agent. He's in talks with the Ravens. Hopefully he doesn't come back. Predicated Melvin Gordon does not come back. Assuming he doesn't, I got Javonte Williams at number 4. And again, stay tuned for number 5 because that's voted by you. We're going to go to Instagram. I'm going to dive in. But I got Javonte Williams here at number 4 for many reasons. Last year, he finished 17th amongst running backs, finishing all 17 games, knock on wood. Very healthy. Love that. Love the talent. Love the youth. Love the opportunity. 203 rushing attempts. And Melvin Gordon was a pest, and he hoarded away the other 203 rushing attempts. Very brutal, very pathetic. And 903 yards on the ground, 4.4 yards per carry, and 4 touchdowns. Melvin Gordon hoarded away 8 touchdowns. So Melvin Gordon being gone, you're looking at 12 touchdowns on the ground as a floor for Javonte with Melvin gone. Javonte's going to get that goal line work. Then you're looking at attempts. Melvin had 203. Javonte had 203. Is Melvin going to get all the 203 that Melvin didn't get if he's gone? No. But I'm going to say on the conservative side, on the lenient side, I'm going to say Javonte Williams finishes with 260 rushing attempts. That's assuming that Javonte gets 60 out of the 203 rushing attempts from Melvin. And again, that's on the low side, right? So 260 attempts as a floor for Javonte Williams. I think it's going to be well over 300, but I'm being really conservative here, right? So 12 touchdowns, 260 attempts. Rushing yards, he had 903. Melvin Gordon had what? 918. So conservatively, 1,200 rushing yards, okay? So we're looking at 1,200, 12 touchdowns, and around 260 to 300 attempts. This puts them easily. And again, that's on the lower end with Melvin Gordon being gone. The ceiling's high. They like to run the ball. We know the Broncos like to run the ball. Now, you got to understand Russell Wilson. You got to factor him in for a few rushing touchdowns and a lot of rushing yards potentially, right? But Javonte Williams is going to get the ball. He's going to get the receptions. He's going to get the volume. He's going to get the opportunity. Javonte Williams, I absolutely love a guy, if everything aligns, if the stars align, if everything goes exactly as planned with Melvin Gordon being shipped off and him getting all that volume and him getting all the attempts and him getting all the work and he stays fully healthy, I don't see any reason why Javonte Williams does not finish as the number 1 running back in fantasy football this season. Period. Number 1. Javonte Williams, potentially, but I got him here at number 4. So Derrick Henry, Najee Harris, Jonathan Taylor, Javonte Williams. You can mix and match either way. The Consheeps have Jonathan Taylor, Derrick Henry, Austin Eckler, CMC, and Cook as the top 5, which is absolutely ludicrous. Christian McCaffrey's only played 10 games in the past 2 seasons. Dalvin Cook has not finished a season. Neither one of them have any business being in the top 5. Never mind, even in the top 10, I don't trust those guys. So, JT, Henry, Eckler, I can see, but CMC and Cook is absolutely ludicrous. And again, copying and pasting Jonathan Taylor, they have him at number 1. But forget what they're doing. We've got Derrick Henry, we've got Najee Harris, we've got Jonathan Taylor, we've got Javonte Williams. Coming at number 5, it is fan voted by you guys. So I'm going to dive in here and give you guys the verdict on who number 5 is based on your vote. Again, this is very early rankings. Breece Hall could come in, other running backs come in, things are going to mix and match. For all we know, Najee Harris could get Breece Hall in that committee and it's a split backfield. We don't know, right? We don't know. So again, let's go over some of the guys you went to the response, and then I took it to the vote here, and then you guys voted on who out of the finalists you guys chose. So again, I took to the questions and you guys gave me a list of names. And out of those lists of names, I took the majority of the running backs you said, and I put them to a poll, and you guys voted on the poll in the final 2, okay? I'll tell you who that is. All right, here we go. So I'm going to go to my story mode. I got a lot of stories going on here. So I said top early backs, reveal who you guys are, fan voted. So here are some of the names that you guys considered as number 5. We got Saquon Barkley. I like Saquon. I can finish top 5. Kamara's in the mix. Michael Carter. Someone says not Saquon. That's funny. CMC in the top 5. Very possible, guys. I'm not saying CMC's a bust, but I just don't trust him. Nick Chubb, Austin Eckler, Joe Mixon, Dalvin Cook, DeAndre Swift, Michael Carter, A.J. Dillon, Fournette, Kamara. A lot of Kamaras here, but not as much as I'm seeing the other guys. So what I saw, guys, is a lot of Eckler, and I saw a lot of Mixon, Okay, so out of those two, I went with Mixon and Eckler. Okay, I went with Mixon Eckler as a 2 because that was the majority of what you guys voted. And then I took that to a poll. And as of right now, we got thousands of votes. It looks like Eckler is winning by a landslide, 66-34 Eckler. So that's who it is, guys. Number 5 is Austin Eckler. Do I debate this? Here's the deal. I like Austin Eckler. He's unblocked me off Instagram. He's commented back on a couple of my posts. He's a nice guy. He's personable. He's an entrepreneur like myself, and he gets it. He gets the whole fantasy thing. He gets the audience. He relates to the fans. He keeps it real. He relates. He understands that fantasy points equal reality points, because if you have reality points, they equal fantasy points. They run in parallel. So if you do well in reality, you're going to do well in fantasy, which means people are cheering you on. He understands logic and common sense, and I like him. Now, he finished last year second amongst running backs. Predicated he stays healthy, especially in PPR, you're looking at a top 5 finisher, without a doubt. I love the offense, okay? I had my doubts in regards to will he get the volume, and sure enough, they believe in him. He got the volume. Now, one thing I don't like is the rushing attempts. I like a guy that's a true workhorse running back that gets the volume. With 206 attempts last year, 911 yards on the ground, 12 touchdowns. I'm not excited. I like the 12 touchdowns. I just don't like the attempts at 206. That's not enough for me, but where he made it up was the 647 receiving yards and 8 receiving touchdowns. Where his numbers are inflated is the 12 rushing touchdowns and the 8 receiving touchdowns, which is great. He gets it done on both categories, in receiving and rushing. Is that going to go down? Possibly this year. Predicated he stays healthy. Now, he only played 16 games. I think he missed 1 or 2. It is what it is. You miss a game here and there, it's fine. You missed a game. So Austin Eckler, I like the vote, guys. It's hard to debate this. Predicated if he stays healthy. I like the offense. He's proven he can get it done. He makes up for anything he loses in rushing attempts and rushing yards, in receiving yards and receiving touchdowns. I don't see any if he's healthy, he's a top 5, top 10 guy, period, okay? If he's healthy. And again, I like him. I like his attitude. I like his personality. I like that he is part of the community. Now, the year I called him a bust, he busted. And he busted because he got hurt. He came back last year, redeemed himself. Going into this year, he's proven that not only does he love fantasy, he's got the heart and talent to be a top 5 contender. So I agree with the IG people. Austin Eckler at number 5. Again, honorable mentions here. Joe Mixon, Alvin Kamara. I think Saquon Barkley, if healthy, they're improve that O-line. They're going to build that offense around him. He slips in the top 5 easily with the volume, right? So there's so many other guys that could have made it. Cook, I don't trust. CMC, I don't trust. DeAndre Swift, I don't know if I trust the offense. So I kind of like the 5 that we have as of right now. This is very early, guys. So again, let me know in the comments. Do you agree with the Instagram people? Does YouTube have a different take on this? Love to hear your feedback. And make sure you guys subscribe, thumbs up, and get in the 16-round draft solution. Use that code TUBE20 to save yourself 20% and dive in. All right, guys? There's some fantasy football running back rankings, some RB rankings for you for 2022. Make sure you guys are subscribed, thumbs up, and I'll see you guys next video. Thank you guys for voting. It was a lot of fun. And those are your top 5. I'm out.